Hello everyone, my name is Ardentex and welcome to my Let's Play of Batman Arkham Asylum. I'll be covering this game to the very best of my abilities, as it is my favorite superhero game probably, which feels so weird to say growing up on so many different games from both the Marvel and the DC universe. I remember when this game was announced a long time ago, just following it through numerous events really, because it has been delayed for a few years, and ever since its first announcement everybody could tell that it was gonna be great, especially comic book video game fans like me. So here we are in the opening cutscene. The Joker is getting apprehended and we're going to the Arkham Asylum. Now, when I first played the game I didn't really pay attention to the story. Because it seems like kind of a normal plot, right? And if you don't pay attention, you miss out on some nuances that this game provides. For example, most of the time that you're at the asylum, you won't actually be fighting the Arkham Asylum inmates. And that completely went over my head the first time I played. You'll notice soon that when we enter the asylum, most of the time we'll be running around office buildings, secretary desks around. We really won't be in the prison area. And I think that's super interesting. And, maybe everybody realized it, but maybe I'm just not that sharp. That was a horrible joke. Alright. So, the Joker has been apprehended because, as we find out a little bit later on, he held the mayor hostage. And that's not something that's mentioned a lot too, but, it doesn't really matter, if we're being honest. But what is interesting is that somebody set off a fire in the Blackgate prison, the actual prison of Gotham City where most of the criminals are. This game was called Batman the Blackgate Prison. It would be a, vastly different thematic to the game that we play. And with that, conveniently, hundreds of Joker's thugs have been transferred to the Arkham Asylum. So most of the enemies that we will see will actually be from Blackgate. We'll actually see very few Arkham Asylum inmates, which is again something that if you don't think about actively, you'll completely pass out on. This is the introduction to the game. There's nothing that we can really do other than, I guess, learn how to use our walking controls and zoom in. So yeah, it's kind of a long intro sequence with all the credits, and I don't actually hate on it that much because I think this game is so well done. And, I was about to say for its time, even though it's from this decade. But, yeah, this game is absolutely amazing. Just from the aesthetics of all the characters, in my opinion, I think are done amazingly. The writing is really well done. And the voice acting, I can't skip out on that. We have the duo, or actually the trio, from the Batman animated series from the 90s. The same voice actors for both Batman, Joker, and Harley Quinn. Even though that the voice actress for Harley Quinn has done Batman Beyond and so many other Batman media as Harley Quinn. So here when I actually play the game, it's pretty cool that the officer Aaron Cash is actually holding the assault rifle with his hook hand. If you notice, he doesn't have a left hand. But we'll get to that later. It's all a part of the game.
Ooh, it's my favorite show.
So throughout the entire game, Joker makes these amazing remarks, either in person where you're next to him like here, or when you're running around the asylum on the radio. You'll see Joker pretty much give commentary to the entire game, and oftentimes it's absolutely amazing.
State of the wiring in these federal facilities.
In preparation for this Let's Play, I wanted to fully complete the game, and by that I mean all the achievements, absolutely, you know, read up on the most that I can when it comes to this game, because I want to show you a very good product. And yeah, this game isn't as challenging as its sequels. When it comes to completing absolutely everything in the game, it's fairly simple, and I hope that I can show that off in this Let's Play in a pretty comfortable fashion. Alright, so we're leading the Joker through the Arkham Asylum. Again, all these halls, none of them are really reserved for inmates. We're just going through the security gates, the secretary portion of the map.
Smell the excitement in the air. No? Must have been one of the guards then.
Now this is a really cool way to actually show off
Is that you?
another antagonist to the game, I guess, even though obviously the main antagonist is Joker.
Get ready.
In the opening sequence, you don't often see like upcoming enemies or, you know, people you'll be facing throughout the game make an appearance, like an introduction, and I think this is absolutely an amazing one for Killer Croc. The zoom in feature actually really helps in this stage. But I didn't mean helps. I think it makes the cutscenes look so much better. I like how Joker's just looking back with a smile the entire time. Just the nuances when it comes to the movements of others is really cool. Just look at how Joker subtly moves. You know, it's not on a set track, and I think that's amazing. Alright. If you can notice, Officer Bowles has a flask on his tool belt, which is, you know, just classic Batman fashion. The little details, possibly foreshadowing.
Night for a party.
Not where you're going.
And another thing that's pretty cool about the game, as just Joker said, this entire game, no matter how long it takes you to complete it, you know, whether just the story or fully, the very storyline takes place over just one night at the Arkham Asylum, which is really cool. And progressively, as we'll go through the game, Batman's suit, his armor, even his beard differentiates. Like by the end of the game, he's rocking a solid 5 o'clock shadow, and at the beginning he's not, and I think that's very cool.
All their meaningless lives brought to a horrifying conclusion. All thanks to you and a book of matches. Was that the answer you wanted?
So, when listening to the voice acting just casually, you know, or actually focusing on it as I'm commentating, it really is a world of difference, even from the live-action movies, in my opinion. You know, not too long ago I rewatched the Dark Knight series by Christopher Nolan, which, in my opinion, is the best Batman film series that's ever been made, you know, far better than the current DC universe. And, you know, I must have forgot how hard to listen to Christian Bale is as Batman. You know, sometimes you can look up clips on YouTube, obviously. It's almost comical when you compare this Batman, who just naturally almost has a deeper voice than you usually would, compared to Christian Bale, you know, who sounds like any of us tried to make an imitation of Batman.
Long night, Jim.
Joker invades City Hall,
Oh,
holds the mayor
and here's
hostage,
Commissioner Gordon.
leaving it to me to juggle SWAT teams, the media,
So, as I
and you.
mentioned,
Yes,
he invaded the
been a
City
hell of a
Hall,
night.
held the mayor hostage, but looks like, by this clip, that it was all part of the plan.
Batman. Arkham staff only.
I assure you, if anyone's qualified, it's...
Listen, I appreciate the assistance.
So this part
but he'll unsettle the
obviously
more
doesn't
violent
make any
inmates.
sense. This is just a plot wheel. Of course that Batman can't go through the very most important part, when we're actually leading the Joker to the cells where he is dangerous,
You okay?
you know, we can escort him through the entering part of the building and the elevator when he's essentially in a straitjacket, but when we're leading him to the cells, he should go only with a doctor and a single guard. You know, makes sense.
Joker's loose.
And
Alert the
obviously he gets free. Conveniently placed bulletproof glass, though.
The joke's on you.
I actually think that's an amazing fun. Like, that makes me laugh every single time. Like, even though I'm doing this in post, it's still hilarious to me.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously! Now let's get...
Alright, we're finally into the gameplay halfway through the video. This game, in my opinion, has an amazing combat system. If you've played the game a lot, and by the way we're playing on normal, which I'll get into a little bit later, if you've played the game a lot, you can really get through a lot of the game without getting hurt. As I mentioned, when I fully completed this game not too long ago to get all the achievements to make sure nothing pops up on screen if I did it on accident, I played on hard, and it's a very different experience. On hard, you can't actually see the counter emoticon above the enemies' heads. You have to pay attention to their limbs, to their movements. It's very difficult, especially if you've never played the game. But because I like to be time efficient, you know, I did it to get all the achievements in one run. So in the beginning, there are obviously upgrades to the game that come later on, and that's why you see me kind of not be able to hold a combo going for a long time, because it's hard not to play with the combos you so, you know in muscle memory. And once you've beaten all these fairly easy beginning thugs from Blackgate, we can find our first Riddler trophy. So this game has a lot of collectibles throughout it. It has Riddler trophies, Riddler puzzles. Even though we actually never see the character in the game, he's laid out his master plan across Arkham Island in the coming weeks, while Joker was orchestrating this plan, which, you know, we'll hear bits and pieces of later on. Other than the Riddler challenges, there's Joker teeth to be found running around on the grounds, which we'll also see not too long ago. Or just coming up not long ago, I'm sorry. And yeah, there's also other things that I'll keep secret for now, but we'll make sure to cover all of them. Now this game, whenever you're introduced to a character, unlocks their bio. And you can really conveniently read everything about these characters, their story and attributes that stems from various different comic books, right? Most of them are from just Batman, but some characters that don't make an appearance there are from other storylines. So anyhow, once you've beaten the first two waves of enemies and got introduced to Commissioner Gordon, Warden Sharp, you can break this vent and get your first Riddler trophy. Now, these also, all the Riddler challenges that I just talked about, they give you XP. So if you have like a clear path in your mind, if you already play the game, this gives you so many upgrades before you're actually meant to get them by battle. And these are the Joker teeth I talked about, which also count towards 100% completion. So make sure to look out for these. They also give you XP, but other than that, they usually just lead you from plot point to another plot point, and there's only a dozen or so that are actually missable. But again, we'll be covering all of them, so nothing to worry about.
All patients should take their medication at the prescribed times each and every day.
Alright. So finally, we can move. I don't know, it's a little bit weird. We're running through the asylum. There's obviously a map that I didn't show off in this video. And running into this corridor, we have just two more enemies. Fairly easy. There's different takedowns you can do in this game. once you're a little bit more experienced or leveled up in the game, you can do limb breaks, which count as in-combat takedowns. You can do ground takedowns too. But if you do decide to use a ground takedown each time an enemy is on the floor, be careful, because it's not an animation that takes you out of combat. So with that, if you use a ground takedown and there's an enemy that's not unconscious next to him, you'll be interrupted from both taking him down, and obviously you'll lose health because someone will just come around and punch you. This game is very fluent when it comes to its battle system, but once we get to a little bit more complex battle scenarios, the game definitely does have a lot of weird interruptions when it comes to your combos and managing your, combining your different moves that you can use. But again, I think I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself. We'll all mention that soon.
I see anything that looks even a little bit like a bat, and this guard does.
So, this is Victor Zsasz, one of the lower level, I guess, villains to Batman. He's usually found as a prisoner. And yeah, his shtick is he likes cutting people. He actually plays a little bit of a bigger role in the later sequels of this game, because this game now has 3 sequels. And yeah, this is the first time we see Victor Zsasz. And I really like that, like we're only 15 minutes into the game and we've already seen Harley Quinn, the Joker, obviously, Killer Croc. Now Victor Zsasz was a little bit obviously less known than the others. And yeah, I find that really cool. And most of these enemies that we see are reoccurring, not only in the game series, but in this game itself. It's a very consistent game, and I like it. It doesn't have a lot of plot holes, but of course, it is a superhero game, so you can always find some. Alright, so these trusty gargoyles that are all over Gotham and the Arkham Island are pretty much Batman's ultimate source of movement when it gets to stealth, and we'll see those all throughout the game and abuse the gargoyles. Alright.
Oh, hiya, B-Man. Harley Quinn here. How do you like my new uniform? Pretty hot, huh?
We'll get to know all of these characters better through another collectible that I'm yet to mention, called the interview tapes. We'll hear them all come into the Arkham Asylum and get interviewed by different doctors, and basically learn their origin story that way as well, unless you want to read all the character bios. So that's your choices. You can get the long background of them through the bios, or you can listen and find the collectibles, not only to get their background story, but mostly the background story in relation to this game.
Batman, you picking this up?
Oracle, I'm here.
Arkham Asylum just vanished off the network.
And that's the first mention of Oracle. Oracle, also known as Barbara Gordon, is Commissioner Gordon's daughter. So, obviously she's not Batgirl in this universe, because this game follows the universe where, the Joker once went way too far. And, yeah, Barbara Gordon is now in a wheelchair, and she's Batman's trusty companion from the Batcave.
Try the radio. Control should be able to shut down the gate.
This wall looks a little bit weak, with obviously a peculiar room behind it, but that's again a story for another day. Open this vent before proceeding to the eastern side, and you'll get another Riddler trophy. Pretty cool. But with that, we're coming up to the end of the first episode. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, I haven't done this in a long time. So, I'm just very happy to be returning to one of my hobbies. And yeah, it's all very exciting. So, you know, any feedback would be useful, whether in the comments and social media, maybe the subreddit you found this on. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon with part 2 of Batman: Arkham Asylum.